a few days now after, and I posted a little video up on the Machining YouTube Facebook page. Got a lot of great comments back, and I also got a lot of great comments on the the prior video to this. Learned a lot really about these motors, and again, I have to repeat, I'm not a motor guy. I don't really know all that much about electrical motors. I think I think I was careful and tried to use good mechanics and take this thing apart as best as I could and keep it back, put it back together without damaging anything. So what I found out was this little tiny bit of axial play here is completely normal. There's nothing wrong with this motor at all. I put it back together exactly the way I found it. There's a little ground. There's a ground in here that people were making comments about, that the ground was disconnected. The ground was all connected when I took it apart. I put it back together exactly the way it came from the factory. And here's the results. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. I'm going to plug it in. And I'm going to just hold it gently here, and it doesn't even look like it's moving. But it is. The thing runs beautiful, like a gyroscope. Smooth, real quiet, no wobble. Another thing I found out here, you could hear it vibrate on the bench. Another thing that that I found out with looking back at all the prior video when I was running this was first of all, that's exactly what this was. It was a test just to see how it ran and if the bearings made noise and whatnot, which I suspected they did. But this was the belt that I used, and it's in real poor condition, as you can see. We got a little cut there, and it's shot. So luckily I have a new belt, and I got new bearings. I called Emerson Bearing. They're in Massachusetts, I believe. 87016 is the part number for these replacement bearings, for these hosed new departure bearings. These things are really bad. They sound like they got sand in them. So you could hear how terrible they are. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to clean up this spindle on the Scotch-Brite wheel. Just clean it up, get some of the little flash rust in there. We're going to press the bearings back in and put it all back together into the spindle. So I got a respirator on now because this makes some dust and I obviously don't want to breathe it. I'm going to start cleaning up some of the parts. Not a lot, so it shouldn't take too long. Alright, it's time to put it all back together again. We're going handheld here to just sort of give you a little overview of what's been done. Got all our parts buffed out now on the Scotch-Brite wheel, spindle, we got the two extra ID spindle extenders, if you will, the cap, the mounting bracket that goes for the compound, the pulley, all sorts of hardware. New belt. We got the belt guard, the motor mount, motors all put back together, spindle casing, casting, and new bearings. So the first thing that we need to do is press the bearings into the spindle and get it into the casting here. So we'll set up and we'll do that now. Couple of things that I do want to do. Let's get these bearings out here first. want to keep these things as clean as possible. I take that back. Not as clean as possible. Very, very clean. So I'm moving them out of here. One of the things I wanted to do was this little bearing surface in here seemed to have a little burr on it. So I'm just taking around carborundum stone and just very gently just trying to knock off any kind of burrs that might impede this bearing from going in. I could see the surface is a little bit marred. How that happened, who knows? It came out pretty easy in the arbor press. Wasn't me, I didn't do it. But I can see I'm cleaning that edge up real nice. Alright, I got all these bearing surfaces cleaned out. Now there's an interesting thing here with this spindle. One side is a press fit, the other side is a very close slip fit. And same thing with the casting, and it's opposite. So, let's see if I got this right. This shorter piece is your slip fit. I'll use this one. I think that's got some gunk in it. See? That slips right in there. And it lives in this casting here. So what has to happen is we have to press this bearing in, and that will be seated and pressed. Then this guy will slip in, okay? Then we'll come up over here. This is a slip fit right in here. See? But it's a press fit on here. So that will, as this slides in, it will press onto here, and then we bolt it all back up and everything's good. Now I don't know if that's official. Somebody who knows a lot about these South Bend Toolpost grinders might say, nope, he's incorrect. I might be. I'm just, those are my observations though right now. Let's just, okay, so first things first, we need to press the deep bearing in. So we'll go over the arbor press and we'll do that now. I got my press all set up. Okay. Keep them in here as long as possible. Make sure they're free of any grit or anything like that. You want to this thing as centered as possible and as straight as possible. That's pressing right in. Boom, seated. That's it. Okay, guess it wasn't all that tight of a press. Our spindle's in there, our bearings are in there. We have this one little tiny spacer. It's a precision spacer, it goes on there. We got our spring washer, a regular washer, and in our castle nut. Now it seems to stop right there, right, and you can see there's the hole right there, but it wants to tighten a little bit further, so but you'll notice something. Take a listen. Dead silent. You gotta love new bearings. So I'm going to just temporarily put this cap back on without the cotter pin to get the other part, the other bearing pressed on. That's it. I thought this was making noise. It's the washer clanging around back there because it's not tight. That feels good. All right. Now that's not going to come off. I just hope it doesn't rub on the inside of this. And it might. I might have to tweak this. Okay, cotter pin is on. It's inside now. I just wound up using a smaller one. Now we have to fit this pulley onto here, and this is, if I remember this correctly, this is a press fit. So I'm just going to go over to the arbor press really quick, press this in, and I'll be right back. This is going to hook right in here. Like this. And a washer for that. See, this is why I clean all the threads on every screw, so things just go seamlessly right back together. I went back and I put washers on these standoff bolts because they were actually too deep. They were going through and making contact with the motor, so I'm just using the spaces where the paint didn't get on to line up where this used to be. Okay, I think we're in a good spot now. Now I need to finagle this thing and get the pulley set right. I don't think the pulley's right. It doesn't look like it's lined up. Does it look lined up to you? Here and here. No, not at all. Alright, I had the pulley on backwards, and honestly it was just to test the motor. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stone down any kind of markings from the set screw. We don't want any of that. So there's no burrs. And right here on the edge of the shaft, this is where it gets banged up a lot. And we don't know if we banged it. Okay. There's the old marks. And I believe it goes this way. know one thing I need to do. I need to square this up. Basically, I want to hold my straight edge. Boom. Something to that effect. Very carefully. Set it just so she doesn't move. And we'll check it again. Now I'm referencing off of this as my datum here, so because this is not going to move, this can. That looks good. That looks real good. And then we could come in here and secure this guy. We'll just snug them and then we'll check it and see if it's got any kind of wobble or kind of undesirable run out. Let's see. Nope. Now that rattle you're hearing is just this adjustment here. When there's tension with the belt, we should be good to go. And unplug it while we work on a pulley. Without further ado, I want to see how quiet this is now with the new bearings. Alright, we have a lot of come on baby, get in there. Alright, I don't want it too tight, obviously, but let's see how that's going to work now. Now, you all remember how loud this was. No, I can see right now that the pulley is off-centered. Might be hard to see in the video, but the pulley needs to go towards the motor a little bit more. Just a little bit more. We're going to unplug it while we work on a pulley. So I'm going to... I could see this belt. It's like blah 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 blah. So I don't know how great this belt is, but I'll do a little research and find out if there's any of those red link belts at this size. This is kind of small, but we'll see. In any case, let's see how it goes now. Yeah, I mean the pulley's running nice. The spindle's quiet. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, this belt is definitely like uneven in spots. Okay. I'll get this finished up and I'll put it onto the lathe and we'll see how it grinds. I just made one observation. Now, if I tighten this up and I run it, you'll hear a little bit of a rattling sound. Hear that? That kind of scratchy sound. So when I remove this end cap, or if I back it out and just hold it, it's quiet. Alright, so I'm removing the end cap. So what's happening is the cotter pin is kind of dancing around and scratching us on the inside, and I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but you could see, I know I can with my eyes, you could see a little scratch marks in there. So I'll figure this out off camera and just silence it some way, but that's good news actually. Alright, this was really bothering me. I wound up putting Dykem on the inside of this to see if something was rubbing, because I would screw this cap in and everything would be fine just until I made contact. And I thought, well, maybe the cotter pin's dancing around, scratching around, and those scratches were not from that, because the Dykem is intact. What's happening is right on the inside of here, it's hitting the washer inside here. So if you'll notice, there's just a covering washer, and note that washer's edge is all torn up. So that's what it's hitting. So we got to try to figure out what to do with that. Might have to shave the washer down a little tiny bit, because I'm not going to have that sound clattering around. Okay, problem solved. What I did on the back cover here was, it was still hitting, and I tried to, the washer was cupped a little bit, and I flattened it out on the arbor press and tapped it flat, and nothing fixed it. And I believe that sound was in there when I first started. So I just took about 20 thousandths off of the threads of this back cover, and problem solved. Put the belt guard on, and now I'm going to put a wheel on. Alright, we've got a bunch of different lock nuts here to choose from. Ooh. Guess that has to dress itself. It's a brand new grinding stone. These are actually sold by South Bend. I have the box that they came in, and again, as I mentioned in the past, these came with something that I bought. I forgot what I bought and who threw them in, but they threw them in for me, and I just kept them, because one day I said I'll have a Toolpost grinder. So these are different things for these ID arbors, different sleeves and stuff. And I think this goes for here. These are shop made. I don't think these came, from South Bend, but you never know. So we've got these arbors here. We'll just put them to the side. And I'm going to get a wrench and tighten this up a little bit better. And then we'll mount it up on the lathe and dress the wheel and see how it goes. Okay, we got the grinder mounted. I got my homemade diamond holder in the chuck. And I have it pointing slightly down past level. So when this, grinds it, it kind of goes, pushes down on it a little bit. So we're gonna turn this guy on and see how she grinds. So I got the wheel squared up as best as I could against the chuck. And I'm going to put my thing in back gear just so it doesn't move. And here we go. Alright, our wheel's dressed. The lathe is covered. You definitely want to have your stuff covered. Let's get a piece of scrap metal and give her a test. that's a pretty horrible finish if you ask me. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think, because this is pretty deflating actually. All that work, replace everything, and you get that kind of a dirt finish. Okay, a couple days has passed now, and what I did is I ordered a 3/8 link belt. These things, you know, obviously they always take away all the wobble and the vibrations and stuff. That belt was in real bad condition, even though it was a new old stock belt, that old V-belt. It was lumpy, and it just produced a lot of really bad vibration. So what I did was I ordered this belt. I got it off of eBay. It was very inexpensive, about 2 foot length. Will do you for the whole thing, with a couple of links left over, and it's very smooth. Now watch. It's quiet. All you really hear is just the whirl of the new bearings inside this spindle, and you know, a little bit of the belt itself. I mean, it has some sort of noise, but you know, I could talk over it. It isn't terribly loud. So what I had done was, you know, the grinder's exactly where it was. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to redress it or nothing, but I got a piece of hardened material. So I got these, you know, I had an extra one of these laying around, one of these centers, you know, for transfer punches, I'm sorry. And I popped it in there and I did a little grind action on it, and it came out wonderful. I mean, it came out just as I would expect it to be. So I'm real happy with this. I think now that it's a success. You know, bearings replaced, we got the new belt on there. It's, you know, I could put a glass of water on the spindle and it really doesn't register at all. So it's quiet, it's smooth, and it's cleaned up, fixed up, and it's working great. So I'm going to be using this obviously for some projects coming up, and you know, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll make sure that it's working correctly, and we'll see some future results. So again, this was a fun project, as they always are, and happy with the results. I will be trying to do to use some different wheels as well, maybe some finer grit to get a smoother finish. I got to experiment. This wheel that I have down here seems to be, I don't know, a little bit of a coarse wheel. But yeah, more to come with more projects. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.